Thank you for listening to this podcast from TRE, Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain and around the world. For more information, please visit tre.radio.
Sweeney presents Live on Eire in association with emeraldconnection.net.
Live on Eire, presented by Sweeney.
It appears as though I have to give it an extra little bit of poke this evening. I'm talking about the volume. Anyway, good evening and welcome. I do hope I find you well on this Wednesday evening. It's the 18th of December 2024. It is, I am sad to say, the final Live on Eire. If you were listening over the last week or so, you will know that I mentioned it 2 weeks ago. That's right. Okay, so today is the final one. Before I do that, or do anything more on that, can I say a big thank you to Howard. Thanks a million, Howard, for looking after us for the last 60 minutes for Spain Today, or with Spain Today. And Howard will be back with us tomorrow between 6 and 7, live from Nerja. I wish you and Luna a very happy evening this evening, and indeed a very happy Christmas as well. Nice to have your company. Do stay with me if you can until 9 o'clock this evening. And as always, if you'd like to get in contact, you're more than welcome to do so at +34 645 99 67 95. That is our text or our WhatsApp line. So you can send a text message to that. If you send an audio message, I won't be able to hear it. You can also send an email if you'd like to studio@tre.radio. So what have we got for you this evening on the programme? Well, it's the Christmas programme, officially. Yes, it is, because this day week will be Christmas. I was kind of determined all week that I wasn't going to have negative stories on the programme, and that's exactly how I'm going to do the programme this evening, because it is Christmas. And we have enough negativity around, unfortunately, because we're not into kind of the last weekend before Christmas, which is the coming weekend. Newspapers, radios, TVs, the news is still bad. Yeah, it is still horrendous. But look, we'll paddle on as best we can. Patricia will be joining us this evening, and Patricia has told us this story already. But I thought, as it's our Christmas edition, we should have the story of the tastes and smells of Christmas, as told by Patricia Traynor. That's coming up in this hour of the programme. You've also heard A Burren Christmas previously. It was played about 4 years ago, I would imagine, initially. And Pat Costello is the man that narrates the story, that was written by PJ Curtis. And if you haven't heard it, it's a treat. And if you know anybody that would just like to hear a beautiful story that is told beautifully, then give them an old text or a buzz and say, turn on Talk Radio Europe there, because there's something special coming in this hour of the programme. And in the second hour of the programme, I'm going to be talking to the Irish ambassador to Spain. That's Frank Smith. He is no stranger to us at this stage. He's almost 4 years in the job. And he has spoken to us at Christmas time and on St. Patrick's Day, most years indeed. And so looking forward to that. I have recorded that already about 2 weeks ago. Ambassador Smith and I had that conversation. He is extremely busy, as you can imagine, being the ambassador. So I take the time whenever I can get the time, and that's when I could get it. So that is coming up in the second hour of the programme, and I'll do my goodbyes after that. So that's what we have for you this evening. If you can stay with me, that would be absolutely brilliant. And I think what we'll do, just to kind of set the tone, will we take a bit of music to start? I think we should. A gentle start to this. Two brothers that you've heard on the programme previously, calling themselves Hudson Taylor. Here's a song called How I Know It's Christmas.
Singing songs out on Grafton Street. It got so cold I didn't know I couldn't feel my feet. That's how I know it's Christmas. And Christmas night, having pints out in the wishing well. I haven't seen you for a while, yeah, but you're looking well. That's how I know it's Christmas. And I'm home. And I'm home. That's how I know. That's how I know. That's how I know. It's Christmas at home. family and my friends, my lady's on her way. I go to meet her off the train, yeah, but it's running late. That's how I know it's Christmas. She said I missed you, and I said I missed you too. I'm just so happy to have all my favorite people standing in the room. That's how I know it's Christmas. And we're home. And we're home. That's how I know. That's how I know. That's how I know. It's Christmas at home. Yeah, that's how I know. That's how I know. That's how I know. It's Christmas at home. Yeah, give it to the choir. I can't believe it's been a year since I was standing here, and this is all I ever wanted. I'm so happy. That's how I know it's Christmas. That's how I know. That's how I know. That's how I know. It's Christmas at home. Yeah, that's how I know. That's how I know. That's how I know. It's Christmas at home.
Lovely, isn't it? Yeah, it comes from Hudson Taylor, two brothers from the Midlands, and that's a song called How I Know It Is Christmas, or How I Know It's Christmas. Julie, thanks a million. She just sent me the link to say that it's been flagged on X, I was going to say Twitter, about it being the last programme for a while, in brackets. Don't be doing nice things now tonight. Don't. And he upset me, like. But anyway, Julie, thanks a million, and thank you for all that you have done down through the years. I'll say the goodbyes before, and thank you beforehand anyway. Right, there is a big story today that I can't let go. It's a political story. The 34th Dáil met today for the very first time, and history was made. I suppose you could say history was made in a number of ways. Firstly, that there was 174 TDs in the chamber. That's 14 more than there has been because of the increase in population. I think it's one TD for every 100,000? Would that make sense, or is it every 300,000? I can't remember, but something like that. So we've 174,000 TDs in Dáil Éireann on the 34th Dáil. And independent TD Verona Murphy has been elected as Ceann Comhairle. The Wexford TD becomes the first woman to hold the role. We wish her well in that. Her election paves the way for a new government made up of Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the regional independent group. Now, the reason that line is there is because in the news, if you've been following the election that we had 2.5, almost 3 weeks ago, you will know that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, two incumbents of the three-party coalition that was the 33rd, I should silence that, shouldn't I? In fact, I'll do it right now. Done. Thank you. Because of the election and the election results. So 2 of the 3 have been returned. However, they don't have enough to form a government. So they were looking at, will it be Labour? Will it be, an independent group or something like that? And recently it was announced that this lady, Verona Murphy, who is an independent TD, was part of that regional independent grouping, and that they had said to Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, if you support our nominee for Ceann Comhairle, which is the Speaker of the House, well then that will show your bona fides in terms of dealing with us in relation to going into government, and it will bode very well. So that's what that line is all about. However, the reality of it is that Seána Fariel, who is the incumbent, or was the incumbent until today, he hadn't intended to run for the office of Ceann Comhairle on this occasion. He knew he would be in the Dáil because the Ceann Comhairle is automatically re-elected. Okay? But because he wasn't up for re-election, he didn't do any canvassing in his area in Kildare. He did no canvassing. And didn't support the running mate, the Fianna Fáil running mate, who didn't get a seat. So the Fianna Fáil party were extremely annoyed about that. Then you go to Wexford, where you have Verona Murphy from. She narrowly pipped a Fine Gael election candidate for a seat. And so Fine Gael thought to themselves, well, if we could put her in as Ceann Comhairle, then we could assume that she will not be canvassing as an independent for the next election because she's automatically returned. So therefore, her team will not take the votes away from our candidate. See how it works? And we're being told that it's all because the independents wanted to see the bona fides of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. So that'll tell you what goes on behind the scenes more than anything else. Anyway, there were 4 candidates in the race today to become the next Ceann Comhairle. Prior to the vote, each one was given 5 minutes to make their case. Ms Murphy was elected on the 3rd count when transfers from outgoing Ceann Comhairle Seána Fariel were distributed, pushing her over the quota of 87. The 174 TDs voted in secret ballot, having been told by Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, their party, that they were to vote, that they should vote for Verona Murphy. Some did, some didn't, but anyway, she got over the line. So it's exactly the same as a general election in Ireland, this particular vote. It's PR and single transferable vote. So that's why you had different counts on there, all right? And the first count, she was just ahead on 76 votes, but got no transfers when the 21 votes for Fianna Fáil's John McGuinness were distributed on the second count. At that stage, then, Angus O'Snodig from Sinn Féin was on 54 votes and Mr O'Farrell was on 42. Miss Murphy picked up 13 votes from Mr O'Farrell on the third count, which put her over the line. Earlier today, Taoiseach Simon Harris tendered his resignation to President Michael D. Higgins as part of the formalities for the first sitting of the new Dáil. He will remain in the role until a new Taoiseach is elected, and the Cabinet will also remain in office. Now, there were elections today there were nominations for Taoiseach, but because the deal isn't done between Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the independent group, there was no clear winner. From Sinn Féin, Mary Lou MacDonald, didn't get the votes that she needed to be Taoiseach, as was expected. Anyway, the first sitting of the 34th Dáil got underway this morning, with the Dáil clerk Peter Finnegan reading out the names of the 174 TDs. Among them were 64 new TDs, including the youngest member of the House, 24-year-old Labour TD from Cork North Central. That's Owen Kenny. The longest serving member of the Dáil is Fianna Fáil's Willie O'Dea from Limerick, who was first elected in 1982. Anyway, we wish them well, 174 of them. We are in their hands for the next 5 years. So as I say, we wish them well. All right, let's have something from Patricia. Let's do that, and let's find out what she has for us. If you were listening a few years back, you will know this story, or maybe you don't, but it's all about the tastes and smells of Christmas. Patricia.
Well, hello, Ger. Today I'm going to talk about tastes and smells of Christmas in Spain and in Ireland. It's unbelievable, but Christmas has crept up on us once again. I must say, I love Christmas and all the memories that are conjured up through the smell of the pine needles on the Christmas tree, the smell of the Christmas cake in the oven, and the lovely smell of cinnamon and spice when making mince pies. Of course, I complain about all the extra work, shopping, cooking, decorating the house, but I must confess, I actually love putting up the crib and the Christmas tree here in Spain. Of course, we used to have a crib in Ireland, but here in Spain, the crib is like a small village with many different figures around the stable, with Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus as the focus, of course. There's usually a river with women washing clothes, a bakery making bread, a smithy with a fire, Herod's castle, and lots of little shops and houses with lights. A scene with shepherds on their knees before an angel, and of course, the three kings on their way to Bethlehem on camels. These large cribs are put up in churches all over Spain, and people go round visiting them during the long Christmas celebrations. Midnight Mass on Christmas Eve is now usually earlier than midnight, and so when people return home, they have plenty of time to help with the preparations for the big Christmas meal, which takes place here on Christmas Eve night. Well, of course, the preparations have been going on for days or even weeks beforehand. But it's on Christmas Eve night when all the family, and often the extended family, come together. Extra tables and chairs are required to make sure everyone is comfortably seated. The first thing on the menu is a delicious homemade soup, which they say is to prepare the stomach for what is to follow. An absolute must is seafood, particularly prawns in lobster sauce. Then stuffed roast of veal with potatoes, roasted loin of pork, delicious serrano cured ham, croquettes, and of course, a selection of salads and side dishes. This is all washed down with wines such as those from La Rioja or Ribera del Duero. Dessert is usually fruit, such as melon or pineapple, laced with triple seco or Cointreau. Then comes the liqueurs such as brandy, aniseed, rum, and of course, the turrones. Now, for anyone who's never tried turron, I would urge you to try it. There are many different flavours, but the most traditional are turrón blando, which means soft turrón, and turrón de Alicante, which is hard turrón. The soft turrón is made of ground toasted almonds, honey and icing sugar. The hard turrón is made of honey, sugar, egg whites, and lots of whole skinned almonds. Mind you, people don't usually make turrón at home. On the contrary, they usually buy a selection of bars. All the big supermarkets have mountains of turrón at Christmas time. The other popular Christmas delicacies are mantecados, which are cinnamon lard cakes, and alfajores, which are made of sugar, sesame seed, cloves, cinnamon, aniseed, chopped almonds, and icing sugar. Aniseed is a popular drink at Christmas, and the empty bottle is used as a musical instrument by rubbing a spoon up and down the cut glass bottle. It's often accompanied by a sambomba, which is a sort of drum with a stick going through the middle. You wet your hand and then move the stick up and down to create a harsh groaning sound. I can't say that both together are harmonious, but they certainly provide background noise to accompany the singing. Christmas Day itself is quieter, as people have stayed up until the wee small hours of the night. However, increasingly, children expect Father Christmas to come on Christmas morning. But the traditional day for presents is the 6th of January, the Feast of the Three Kings. And so clever children manage to get presents from both Father Christmas and the Three Kings. Spanish people celebrate the 12 days of Christmas, and so feasting continues through New Year until the Epiphany, the Feast of the Three Kings. Now, if almonds play an important role in the Spanish Christmas, I would say currants, raisins and sultanas play an important role in the Irish Christmases. They are the important ingredients in mince pies, Christmas pudding and Christmas cake. These Christmas goodies are available in some shops here in Malaga. I remember one of the girls at the checkout desk here asking me why all the foreigners seem to buy multiple boxes of those little cakes, that is, mince pies. I explained to her that they are typical for Christmas in Ireland and in England in the same way as mantecados are typical in Spain. I also remember a student of mine who had bought what she thought was a Christmas cake, but which in fact was a Christmas pudding. I met her after Christmas and she said she had found the Christmas cake very tough. In fact, she said it was virtually impossible to slice. She didn't realise that it wasn't a Christmas cake, it was a Christmas pudding. And you have to steam a Christmas pudding for several hours before eating it. And then, very often, it is flambéed with brandy or whiskey before being served with hot custard. She had simply sliced the Christmas pudding cold and tried to eat it. Of course, it was tough. Also, Spanish people do not like hot custard. For them, custard is always served cold, straight from the fridge. In Ireland, we also put up a Christmas tree and a crib, but usually with just the Holy Family, the three kings and the shepherds. Many people put a lit candle in the window as a way of remembering how there was no room at the inn for Mary and Joseph. The candle is a symbol to welcome people into their home. The big family Christmas dinner in Ireland is on the 25th of December, Christmas Day, and the menu is usually roast turkey, stuffing, roast potatoes, Brussels sprouts, peas, chipolata sausages and delicious gravy. Of course, this is washed down with Guinness or a good table wine or even both. The usual dessert is Christmas pudding and hot custard or brandy butter. For those who are still hungry, they can have a mince pie with their coffee. New Year's Eve is celebrated in much the same way in both countries, by people either going out to a New Year's Eve party or families celebrating at home and toasting in the new year with cava or champagne. In Spain, people wait for the chimes to ring in the new year. They have 12 grapes, which they eat one at a time with each chime of the clock. If they manage to eat them all, they will have good luck. Young people usually go out after the grapes to party with their friends. As I said before, Spain celebrates the 12 days of Christmas, and so the celebrations continue after New Year's Day. The three kings arrive in all Spanish towns on the 5th of January, and at night they parade through the streets on their thrones carried on the backs of lorries in a grand cavalcade. They throw out hundreds of sweets to the wide-eyed children lining the route, who can't believe they're witnessing the arrival of the real kings. Some people open up their umbrellas to catch the sweets, which rain down from their majesties. Children know the names of kings, Gaspar, Melchor and Balthazar, and they usually have a favourite king. Shops stay open late on the 5th of January for last-minute shopping, as there are price reductions, especially on toys, that night. Everyone exchanges presents on the 6th of January, and another great meal is shared. Schools don't open until the 8th of January to allow children to have time to play with their new toys, which they have received from the kings. Well, I would like to take this opportunity to wish you all a very happy Christmas. Feliz Navidad, Nolig Honajiv.
Day 1. Dear Nuala, thank you very much for your lovely present of a partridge in a pear tree. We're getting the hang of feeding the partridge now, although it was difficult at first to win its confidence. It bit the mother rather badly in the hand, but they're good friends now, and we're keeping the pear tree indoors in a bucket. Thank you again. Yours affectionately, Gobnet O'Lunacy. Day 2. Dear Nuala, I cannot tell you how surprised we were to hear from you so soon again and to receive your lovely present of 2 turtle doves. You really are too kind. At first, the partridge was very jealous and suspicious of the doves, and they had a terrible row on the night the doves arrived. We had to send for the vet. But the birds are okay again, and the stitches is due to come out in a week or 2. The vet's bill was £8, but the mother is over her annoyance now, and the doves and the partridge are watching the telly from the pear tree as I write. Yours ever, Gobnet. Day 3. Dear Nuala, we must be foremost in your thoughts. I had only posted my letter when the 3 French hens arrived. There was another sort out between the hens and the doves who sided with the partridge, and the vet had to be sent for again. The mother was raging because the bill was £16 this time, but she has almost cooled down. However, the fact that the bird's droppings keep falling down on her hair while she's watching the telly doesn't help matters. Thanking you for your kindness, I remain your governor. Day 4. Dear Nuala, you mustn't have received my last letter when you were sending us the 4 calling birds. There was pandemonium in the Pear Tree again last night, and the vet's bill was £32. The mother is on sedation as I write. I know you meant no harm, and remain your close friend, Governor. Day 5. Nuala, your generosity knows no bounds. 5 gold rings. When the parcel arrived, I was scared stiff that it might be more birds, because the smell in the living room is atrocious. However, I don't want to seem ungrateful for the beautiful rings. Your affectionate friend, Governor. Day 6. Nuala, what are you trying to do to us? It isn't that we don't appreciate your generosity, but the 6 geese have not alone nearly murdered the calling birds, but they laid their eggs on top of the vet's head from the pear tree, and his bill was £68 in cash. My mother is munching 60 grains of Valium a day and talking to herself in a most alarming way. You must keep your feelings for me in check, Governor. Day 7. Nuala, we are not amused by your little joke. 7 swans a-swimming is a most romantic idea, but not in the bath of a private house. We cannot use the bathroom now because they have gone completely savage and rush the door every time we try to enter. If things go on this way, the mother and I will smell as bad as the living room carpet. Please lay off. It is not fair, Governor. Day 8. Nuala, who the hell do you think gave you the right to send 8 hefty maids of milking here to eat us out of house and home? Their cattle is all over the front lawn and has trampled the hell out of the mother's rose beds. The swans invaded the living room in a sneak attack, and the ensuing battle between them and the calling birds, turtle, doves, French hens and partridge made the Battle of the Somme seem like Wanderley Wagon. The mother is on a bottle of whiskey a day as well as the 60 grains of Valium. I'm very annoyed with you, Governor. Day 9. Listen, you louser. There's enough pandemonium in this place night and day without 9 drummers drumming, while the 8 flaming maids of milking is beating me poor old alcoholic mother out of her own kitchen and gobbling everything in sight. I'm warning you, you're making an enemy of me, Governor. Day 10. Listen, manure face. I hope you will be haunted by the strains of the 10 pipers piping which is sent to torment us last night. They were aided in their evil work by those maniac drummers, and it wasn't a pleasant sight to look out the window and see 8 hefty maids of milking pogoing round with the ensuing punk rock uproar. My mother has just finished her 3rd bottle of whiskey on top of 124 grains of Valium. You'll get yours, Governor O'Lunacy. Day 11. You have scandalised my mother, you dirty Jezebel. It was bad enough to have 8 maids of milk and dancing to punk music on the front lawn, but they've now been joined by your friends, the 11 lords a-leaping, and the antics of the whole lot of them would leave the most decadent days of the Roman Empire looking like Outlook. I'll get you yet, you old bag. Day 12. Listen, slurry head, you have ruined our lives. The 12 maidens dancing turned up last night and beat the living daylights out of the 8 maids of milking because they found them carrying on with the 11 lords a-leaping. Meanwhile, the swans got out of the living room where they'd been hiding since the big battle and savaged hell out of the lords and all the maids. There were 8 ambulances here last night and the local civil defence as well. The mother is in a home for the bewildered and I'm sitting here up to me neck in birds' droppings, empty whiskey and Valium bottles, birds' blood and feathers, while the flaming cows eats the leaves off the pear tree. I'm a broken man. Governor O'Lunacy.
Isn't it lovely? You know, I think that particular version of the 12 Days of Christmas is loved more outside of Ireland than it is by the Irish. I think so. But I know it's been appreciated. Thank you all for texts. Sounds great to hear that again. Frank Kelly, the late Frank Kelly, and a song called, or a tune, or a thing called Christmas Countdown. Frank Kelly was Father Jack in Father Ted, just in case you don't know who you're dealing with there. All right. So that's it. All righty. I will be back just after this very quick break to introduce A Boring Christmas.
Live on Eire, presented by Sweeney.
If you are a regular listener to Live on Eire, if you've listened to the other 332 programmes, you will know the name PJ Curtis. And PJ is a very talented man. More about that later. But he wrote a beautiful story called A Burren Christmas. And our good friend Pat Costello narrated it for him. And I have played it every year for the last number of years. Pat, unfortunately, no longer with us, passed away in April of 2020. And a sad loss, a huge loss indeed he is. If you can, will you just sit back and relax and enjoy and listen to this? It's about Christmas in the old days, in the Burren in County Clare. And the Burren is a very special place. And if you know anything about Ireland, you will know that. And this is really beautiful. Take a listen to Pat Costello and A Burren Christmas.
Having journeyed through and survived as best we might all the past 12 months could hurl at us, we finally approach once again that special time of the year that is like no other, Christmas. For some, it is but yet another poisoned pool in a desert of darkness, a time of pain, sadness, hopelessness and loneliness. For most of us, hopefully, it offers an oasis of light, hope and happiness in an increasingly troubled and turbulent world. A time of physical and spiritual renewal, a gentle time of inner peace and calm reflection. Each of us approaches Christmas in our own way, each one carrying within our hearts the reverberations, good and bad, of Christmases past and the dreams and hopes of Christmases to come. In cities and towns there is a quickening in pace as shops and stores prepare to cope with increased seasonal business. Television and radio urge sorely pressed shoppers to part with hard-earned money, while street Christmas lights, often switched on since early November, glimmer with a cold commercial glow and serve to further beckon and entice us to spend. However, Christmas in the country is quite different. Here in the Burren it is serene, it is beautiful, and strangely mysterious. The grey mantle of winter has long since been cast over the land, and in this silent world of stone, the pale low-lying sun, when it peeps through, highlights a rich tapestry of deep winter colours. There are carpets of furze, hazelbush and of bracken, in every possible hue of russet and dark brown. So too are the varied mosses and other winter shrubs. The trees of Christmas, the rowan and the ivy, are in their full regalia of blossom. You will experience no green so startling as that of a lone holly bush, pushing up from a craggy limestone fissure. Startling too is the sight of red holly berries on a bush which was previously barren. Peer a little closer, and you may be rewarded with a glimpse of a tiny robin, perched among the prickly holly leaves, glistening with silver droplets of rain, its red breast competing madly with a profusion of berries. Green, red, and silver, the colours of a Burren Christmas. For a moment it might seem as if you had stepped into a giant living Christmas card. The turloughs, dry throughout the summer and now gorged since the October rains, teem with winter bird life. Greenland duck, widgeon, teal, shoveler, heron and wild swan. A Christmas sky can be transformed by the sight and wondrous music of a V-formation flight of swans, winging towards the horizon and that safe nesting place in some nearby body of sheltered water. This year's floods have brought hundreds of swans, to add grace and quiet frosty beauty to the burn turlocks, to the ponds and the lakes. Can you picture anything so peaceful, so calming, so exquisitely serene as catching a glimpse of these most beautiful of nature's shapes, gliding as softly as falling snowflakes on a liquid mirror? On the slopes of another of nature's most extraordinary designs, Mullaghmore, the beating heart of the burn, a king billy goat glares down from his rocky throne before tossing his wild shaggy head and disdainfully leading his harem to even higher, safer ground. Venture closer to the base of the hill and marvel at the profusion of timid plant life sheltering deep in the limestone grikes, or at the array of fossilized shell and quartz stone, glittering gems, strewn by some extravagant creator's hand, glistening in shafts of winter sunlight among the flagstones. Flapping heron's wings beat ripple waves in both the still air twilight and turlock surface alike. Winters here for both animals and man are mild. It's not unusual for Christmas Day temperatures to sometimes equal that of Midsummer's Day. Only occasionally are the turlocks, lakes and rivers encrusted in icy casings, which, when the east wind flutters and moves across frozen sculpted surfaces, zing and sing like 1,000 plucked harpstrings, resonating deep in the heart's core long after the ice has melted. Though children may dream of snowflakes on Christmas Day, white Christmases in the burn are extremely rare. The oldest locals can only recall a Christmas Day snowfall on 1 or 2 occasions. But children big and small can dream. Who can tell, perhaps this year, dreams may turn to falling Christmas snowflakes. When the silence of early darkness falls on the stone, it is a silence you can hear, broken only by the cry of a night bird, the lowing of distant cattle, or the bleating of a lost sheep. Watch out for the night prowlers and hunters when you drive through the quiet country roads. The fox, the stoat, the pine marten and the badger, the night time is their time, and you are within their kingdom. In the east a star twinkles brighter than the rest. Under such a star you might expect to catch sight of 3 camels and their kingly riders silhouetted against the night sky. What matters that the star is the planet Mars, god of war, inexorably moving closer to the earth? While some men make wars, such stars set other men's imagination alight. To stand and to listen for a moment between the stone and dropping sky is to hear the sound of the burn asleep. A sleeping limestone world of whitewashed cottages, of great stone dolmens, stone forts, stone castles, and dry stone walls, deep in winter slumber. You can sense, though, that nature is not asleep, but awaiting a signal, awaiting perhaps the fierce flame of a solstice ritual fire, or the soft warm glow of a single candle alight in a window. All awaiting the bells of Christmas to ring out their eternal message of rebirth and of renewal, the age-old signal to awaken. In this moment of deepest winter darkness, this moment of ancient magic, summer is conceived. Indoors, around the warmth of the home hearth, other images conspire to weave that special magic that comes only at Christmas. The warmth of a turf fire piled high, the crackle and spit of flaming beech, chestnut or ash logs, the soft glow of an eye lamp, the scent of apple, of cinnamon, and of cloves and other spices, the sharpness of the winter night air, and the strange stillness which descends after midnight. These images can turn the mind to nostalgic reflection and memories of time gone by. In this quiet time I recall past Christmases and the flurry of activity in our house, the house I now inhabit, that always preceded Christmas. My mother ran a small country shop at the southern edge of the Burren. This was in the days before supermarkets, megastores and shopping malls, and local people shopped locally, which meant a busy time for our little shop. In the 2 weeks coming up to Christmas Eve, there were many chores for us youngsters to do in the recently seasonally decorated shop. Tea, sugar and plain white flour, which all came in bulk, had to be weighed in 1 pound and 2 pound bags. So too did the Christmas cake and the plum pudding ingredients, almonds, raisins, currants and sultanas. Stick lemon peel and suet had to be chopped and weighed, so did the various nuts and exotic spices, ginger, cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg. Lists of Christmas provisions, always lengthy and detailed, dropped into the shop earlier, had to be selected and packed in canvas bags, baskets or cardboard boxes. Added to the usual regular provisions were the special Christmas luxuries. Red jellies and jams, custards, tinned peaches or pears, oranges, a rare exotic fruit in those days, loose biscuits, bottles of blood-red cordial, dark chocolate and sticky canned sweets. The hamper would be topped off with a dark fruitcake for the family, or a wedge or two of plug tobacco for the man of the house, and 2 or 3 joint red Christmas candles. As a token and seasonal gesture, a special Christmas box, a present for regular customers, was then added by my mother, who distributed these gifts according to the size of the customer's annual spending. Suddenly Christmas Eve is upon us, and holly, ivy and laurel boughs, a tradition which predates any Christian ritual, had to be gathered for house decorations. There never was a tradition of putting up a Christmas tree in our house in those days. Indeed, such was the case in most country houses around. The putting up of the now common Christmas tree is a tradition that has come into being only since the coming of television in the 60s. There was always a nativity crib, however, a simple wooden structure that was built, thatched, placed on a special plinth, and decorated by my father with silver paper and freshly gathered laurel boughs and ivy strips. For my mother, Christmas Eve was one of the busiest days of the year. The shop was busy from morning till night, and goose or turkey had to be plucked and stuffed. Jellies, trifles and other savours had to be made, and her homemade Christmas cake had to be iced and decorated. For us youngsters, high excitement reigned all through the day, increasing in intensity as early darkness fell on the land. At 5 o'clock we gathered around the radio to listen in awe to Santa Claus as he read the names of those lucky few to be picked up from his mail sack before setting off on his long nocturnal global journey. At 6 o'clock sharp, a giant red Christmas candle was lit and placed in the kitchen window, usually by the youngest member of the family, and the other candles were lit from it before being placed in every window throughout the house, upstairs and down. My father would then fill, raise and drink a glass of whiskey in remembrance of those departed souls who once lived in this house and celebrated bygone Christmas Eves as we now did. Then we would go outside to look at the great display of candles alight in the windows of both ours and of our neighbouring houses. What a magical landscape spread out before our eyes. To me it seemed as if a shower of stars had fallen to earth, and which now lay twinkling all around as far as the eye could see. The moment we had longed for all year had arrived. The moment of wonder and of magic. We had entered a fairyland of light and love that only fully existed at Christmas time. Back indoors, fires were placed and lit in every fireplace. Light flickers and falls on holly bough and coloured decorations and reflects on silver-edged Christmas cards with a holy light. My mother, finished with last-minute chores, would at last take her old fiddle from its case, rosin the bow, and play her favourite reels and jigs. My father would recall tales of Christmases long ago, sing a snatch of a song or a poem, and end with a ghost story or two to add to the joy and happiness of an already highly charged Christmas Eve atmosphere. At last, with imaginations aflame and delirious with expectant excitement, it is time for bed, and sweet dreams of what Santa Claus and the morning would bring. And we never were disappointed. Books, train sets, and games, we always got more than we ever truly expected. Just before drifting to fitful, happy sleep under a warm quilt, I would gaze through the frosted window pane to witness the stars sparkling brighter than they had done on any other night of the year, and I would strain to hear some distant sound. There always was a sound, far away but definite. It was the sound heard by boys and girls, men and women, since the dawn of creation. It was the sound of the winter solstice, the sound of Hanukkah, the sound of Christmas, the sound of bells gently tinkling. Now no longer a child, I still listen for these Christmas bells, though perhaps they ring a little more distant than when I was a boy, before sleep comes on a peaceful Christmas Eve.
Absolutely. It was narrated by the late Pat Costello. It takes a very beautiful mind and body, mind and soul and heart to put those words together. And those words were put together by our good friend PJ Curtis. Thank you, PJ, for doing that. And absolutely fabulous. It was produced. I'd say they had great fun. Well, they did have great fun. PJ Curtis, Pat Costello, and Marianne Dwyer. They put it together. Beautiful. A Burren Christmas. Lovely. Sorry about that. My headphones are way too high and I'm very close to the microphone. Let's keep the old bit of culture going, shall we? Take us to news. Unfortunately, I have to leave it right there. That is John Count McCormack and a song that's called Adeste Fidelis, as if you hadn't known. All right, we're going to news. I'll see you at the other side of that.
Talk Radio Europe.
Your voice in Spain.
Live on Eire, presented by Sweeney.
And you welcome back to the programme. Into the last hour we go of the last programme. Wow. I was asked yesterday, when did it all start? It started on the 28th or the 29th of April back in 2018. 332 programmes have been done. Well, 332 and a half. We have a half to go. The gas to end up on a number of 333. And I mentioned last week and the week before, over 150 guests. I counted them. I genuinely did. Is what has happened, or what you have met on the programme since we started back in 2018. But there you go. Anyway, what have we got for you? Yes, I spoke 2 weeks ago to the Irish ambassador to Spain, Frank Smith, and I'm going to be playing that for you very shortly. But, when listening to Pat Costello there, and he narrating PJ's story, and, we were never disappointed, whatever we got from Christmas, books and games and toys and all sorts of goodies. Well, the Department of Defence have written to Santa Claus, and the department has signed a deal to buy a new long-range government jet with an expected delivery date of next Christmas. Hey! So they're going to have 2 goes at it. It's buying a French-made Falcon 6X at a cost of around €53 million plus VAT. Of course, they get the VAT back. Does the government give the VAT back to themselves? I suppose they do. The government's previous aircraft, the Learjet, was beleaguered with problems. It broke down a number of times late last year, leaving then Taoiseach Leo Varadkar stuck in Paris in November 2023. And then Minister for Higher Education at the time, Simon Harris, forced to abandon the plan to use the jet to attend a meeting in Brussels at the last minute in December of last year. A 30-year-old Learjet was only used to carry out medical evacuations in 2024. A spokesperson for the Department of Defence said that the Falcon 6X is intended as a replacement to the Learjet and will carry out all the functions that jet had previously undertaken. A statement issued by the department confirmed that a contract had been awarded for the multi-purpose aircraft, which would be used in overseas missions across the globe. It's expected that it will be available in time for Ireland's EU presidency in the second half of 2026. Of course, when they take delivery, they're going to have to put all the bells and whistles and things onto it, isn't it? Taoiseach Micheál Martin described the new government jet as a game changer for the state's transport, airlift and medical capabilities. It will, he said, be used for a wide range of tasks, including the non-combatant evacuation of Irish citizens from critical situations, air ambulance patient transfers, medical evacuation or repatriation of Irish Defence Forces personnel deployed on overseas missions, and logistics support for the transport of supplies to Irish Defence Forces overseas missions, he said. In addition, it will provide the independent and flexible air transport service, which is an increasingly essential requirement to assist the government in meeting our national and international obligations. Manufactured by Dassault Aviation SA, a French aerospace company, the Falcon 6X can carry up to 17 people with a passenger capacity of 14. It'll be operated by Irish Air Corps from Casement Aerodrome in Baldonnel, and the airframe is currently being built in the company's production facility in Bordeaux in France. Lovely. Wish him well with that. Many, many miles of safe and happy travelling in it. Indeed. Right, I'm going to take a very quick break, and when we come back from that, you will hear the conversation that I had with Ambassador Frank Smith about 2 weeks ago.
Live on Eire, presented by Sweeney.
It is December. It's only a week out from Christmas, so it must be Ambassador Frank Smith time again. And indeed it is. I'm delighted to welcome on the programme a tradition at this stage for Christmas, and to have a chat about the year that was. The Irish Ambassador to Spain, Frank Smith, you're very welcome, and thank you for joining me yet again, 2024. How are you?
I'm fine, and thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here on a sunny day in December in Madrid.
Well, I'm looking out the back garden. I'm in Ireland. The trees are being rattled by the wind. The cloud, if I stood up, you probably wouldn't see my nose. It is raining on and off, so I think you have the better handle on it from this perspective. 2024, how was it?
It was good. It was busy, as usual. It went by very fast, and obviously marked by, in Ireland, politically by our general election, but here in Spain, as well as in Ireland and right across the EU, by the European elections, but also the usual things that we work on here on behalf of Ireland. They roll on, whether there are elections or not. Dealing with the consular cases that arise from the many visitors to Ireland, and I can touch on that a bit later if you wish, but also just in the cultural area, Irish studies programs, literature, music, also the announcement during the year of a new consulate general in Malaga to be opened probably in 2026. That would be the first consulate general. We have a number of honorary consuls in Spain, but this would be a consulate staffed including some people from headquarters in Dublin. And then also, at political level, there was a lot of cooperation between the governments of Ireland and Spain on a range of issues, including the recognition of Palestine as a state. Both countries did that at the same time, following a lot of close work at the very high political level. So St. Patrick's Day was in there, as always. It comes early, and it stays for longer every year, it seems, which is a good thing. We have now what we call Semana de Irlanda here in March, which is a week rather than a day surrounding Ireland. And we had a range of cultural and political related events surrounding St. Patrick's Day with particularly great support from our colleagues in Tourism Ireland here, who play a central role in that. And also we had a visit for that purpose. As you know, many ministers and senior political representatives leave Ireland to represent us abroad, and we had the Ceann Comhairle visiting Madrid in March.
It seems like only yesterday that we were talking, because we did a piece for St. Patrick's Day, as we always do, that you were talking about the Ceann Comhairle, and he's had an eventful year himself, and he will be back in Dáil Éireann. Of course, his seat doesn't come up for grabs, so nice to see that he will be back there again. You were talking about Ireland and Spain recognising the Palestinian state at the same time, and that period of this year saw a lot of activity, political activity, didn't it, between Ireland and Spain, and a furthering, I suppose, of the relations between the two nations.
Yeah, I mean, we've always held a similar position on the situation in Palestine with Spain. Prime Minister Sanchez visited Ireland as part of a visit to Ireland and Norway and Slovenia, who were the four countries in Europe which recognised Palestine more or less at the same time. And the governments felt it was important to coordinate our positions so that they were similar both in substance and in timing, reflecting public opinion. In both countries. I'm sitting in Spain, where public opinion on the situation in the Middle East is quite strong, and also on there was very broad support for the recognition of Palestine by the government of Spain. So that's now been done. Similarly, it was done in Ireland, and obviously a range of other issues. Ireland and Spain are partners in the EU, so we have a whole range of common interests and a common agenda to work through with them. And we also had a visit from the Minister for Public Expenditure, Pascal Donoghue, who met with his counterpart here in Madrid during the year also. So at the political level, these meetings are important. Obviously, with an election in Ireland, politicians then obviously focus a little more on, understandably, what's close at hand in the elections, but I expect, once a government is formed and settled in, we will start the routine of having ministers visiting here, on a range of issues, political issues, European issues, but also, relating to the Irish community here in Spain, and the various activities that the embassy pursues.
I know you can't and won't go into details on this, but just it's kind of to understand the workings of an embassy, like the Irish embassy in Madrid. When we were talking about Ireland and Spain working together in relation to the Palestinian issue, there would have been a lot of toing and froing from our government through the embassy, I would imagine, so that you could talk to various people on the Spanish side. It would have been the same, I suppose, from the Spanish government talking to their embassy in Dublin to talk with people in Dublin. Does the Irish embassy ever talk to the Spanish embassy in Dublin? In other words, do ye talk to each other as well in a situation like that?
On an issue like that, probably not so much, because the issues are going headquarters to headquarters very often, but also the ministers, because the ministers see each other quite regularly, whether it's in Brussels for the monthly meeting of foreign ministers, whether they might be at another international meeting perhaps with the UN, perhaps with the OSCE, something like that. So there'd be very close contact, and ministers also are in very direct contact with each other these days compared to, say, 30, 40 years ago when mobile phones were to the order of the day. So there's a lot of direct contact. But to answer your question directly about Spanish Embassy Dublin and Irish Embassy Madrid, there is very, very frequent contact. We like to keep each other informed of what we're doing, including because sometimes we can support each other, or because we have local knowledge of Ireland, even though we're sitting in Madrid, and they have local knowledge of Spain, even though they're sitting in Dublin. We can help each other out. And I have to say, my text, my messages to the Spanish ambassador in Dublin and his back to me, we communicate. If not every day, and it's not every day, but it's very frequently. I have a particularly good relationship with the representative in Dublin, I have to say. But yeah, we would have regular contacts, and if I'm back in Dublin, I would try to see him, or if somebody else from the embassy here in in Madrid is back in Dublin for work purposes, they would also try to see their counterpart in the embassy. So it's a very close and good relationship. I suppose it might differ from place to place, from country to country, but in our case, we're very fortunate, and we very much support each other, and it definitely adds value to what we do, and definitely also it cuts a path for us. Sometimes we can get very good advice on where to go or who to talk to.
I realise that there is no comparison with the actuality, but there's a lot of talk about people enjoying watching the Netflix series The Diplomat. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Have you seen it?
I have to confess that I haven't. I've heard about it.
Okay, right.
I haven't.
Okay, well, I won't get into it then.
Maybe it much help to you.
No, I was going to say that, the way you answered the question, to see The Diplomat and to see how the ambassador, saves the day. And, I've heard people that have been involved with diplomacy and working in embassies on the radio talking about it and saying it doesn't work that way. But I was just hoping that you had seen it and that you might have a comment on it.
I suspect that my life, I haven't seen it, but I suspect that life on the Netflix series is presented in a much more glamorous way than mine is.
It is, and more hectic as well. And so I hope you've got a less hectic situation. Anyway, listen, one of the things that I liked about 2024 in terms of the relationships between Spain and Ireland would be that back in October, there was a big gathering in Valladolid, and I was invited to it, but I couldn't attend, where a number of organisations involved with furthering links with Ireland, be it culturally, be it, whatever way, politically, business-wise, all gathered and, tried to come to a common consensus as to how best they could, work together and, again, to develop more links. If I'm not mistaken, your name was mentioned that you were there. So a further good development, positive development.
Yeah, really good. And I was there. I'm very glad to be there, obviously. And it was very striking when I walked into the room, quite how many people were there and where they were from and what they do, promoting Ireland, establishing closer links between Ireland and Spain. And I knew just about everybody in the room individually, but seeing them there collectively really gave a sense of the force that they are and the depth of the work that they do. Much of it voluntary, much of it just out of love for Ireland and the connection they feel with Ireland. Carlos, who runs that organisation down there and does enormous work for Ireland, he pulled them together. I have to say, just even the coordinating. Spain is a pretty big country, and to get everybody, just to get all those people to come from various different parts of the country, was a feat in itself. And then just to listen to them telling each other what they do, and it ranges from business and culture, education, music. It was just a whole gamut of things. And when you saw them and heard them together, it was very striking. It's an idea that really showed its worth on the day, I felt. And I very much hope and would expect that it will, it'll bear fruit. I mean, many of these people know each other in different ways, or know some of each other in different ways. But collectively, in such a big number, I hope even they were pleasantly surprised by actually just the number of them and the range and the richness of the issues that they deal with and that they were describing. So, Valladolid obviously is a kind of a very appropriate place for it, because there's a very strong Irish society there, which Carlos Burgos runs, and there's also. And it happened at the same time. There was a reenactment again, I think the third reenactment of the funeral of Red Hugh O'Donnell, which is a piece of a pageant in its own way. It's there's horses and a coffin and torches and people dressed in period costume, and the period is more than 400 years ago. Real big effort. The mayor of the city, just like his predecessor, the mayor is new, just like his predecessor, has put his shoulder to the wheel. It's Spain. Spain is a country where people, they do like a procession. They like public acts. At Easter time, it's a very, very important part of their culture. And this is another procession, and they come out on the street in numbers, and the local politicians get very involved, and for that we're very grateful. It puts Ireland on the map. We're probably fortunate as well, but I think it's probably a coincidence, but it's a good coincidence. The head of tourism in Valladolid, which is a very old historical city here in Spain. It's a place of historical importance, and for instance, they'll tell you it's the place where the purest and best Spanish is spoken and learned. So it's a place of learning for Spanish as well. But it's an important place, and it's kind of significant that we get this audience there every year, and we're very grateful for it. I
suppose the Spanish, just like the Irish, just love a good old party, don't we? And a good old funeral. You can't beat it.
Yeah, there is an element of that. Yeah. There's a different style about it, or at least there's a different style about funerals that are reenacting something that took place 400 plus years ago. And there's, of course, a great Donegal connection, because Red Hugh O'Donnell came from the Lifford area. So county councillors from the area are among those who come down, and also it's attended by members of the O'Donnell family.
That's right.
Who very much are situated here in Spain. They're a Spanish family now with very strong Irish connections, who are very proud to keep the name going, to protect it, to explain it, to explain to people what the history of it is. And the most senior member of the family, Mr. Ugo O'Donnell, is in his very understated way very proud of the name, of the history, and very keen to promote it.
2025. Anything nice on the horizon for you? For the embassy, as in?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I suppose the end of the year is. You're before the end of the year, you're even anticipating what's coming up, obviously, in the early part of the year. And one of the earliest, I call it a bookmark or a major staging post in the year is St. Bridget's Day. And it's something that the Department of Foreign Affairs has been promoting very strongly abroad, and we have been doing that. I mean, last year we had an event in a hospital here in Madrid for children with illnesses, to very much play into the caring side of St. Bridget. And it was a wonderful kind of low-key event, because obviously with sick children we have to be careful and not raise too much of the temperature. So that was a very meaningful way of recognising the day. Next year we're going to leave Madrid for it, and our great friends in the University of Granada, where there's a really very, very strong Irish studies programme, are going to run I think it's a 4-day conference with St. Bridget very much at the centre of it. So there'll be all sorts of stuff going on there: music, dance, literature, a broad range, and obviously part of it will have a focus on St. Bridget. So it's good also to move out of a capital. Granada is obviously a very big city in its own right, but sometimes you can become too centred on where you are, and it's good to go out to the regions. And as I say, the programme down there, and the woman, the professor who runs it, the Irish Studies programme there is really first rate.
Okay. It is nice, as you say, to get to the regions because, again, the similarities between the Spaniards and the Irish, we love when people come to places other than Dublin. And the Spanish, they also recognise and appreciate when you make the effort to go to the various regions and, shine a light and kind of say you are just as important, don't they?
Yeah, well, the Spanish take their regions very seriously, and they have very strong regional governments. And obviously, their populations are much bigger than us. So regional governments have real sway here. It's very much part of the constitutional arrangement that a lot of powers are delegated to the regions. Regions, just as in counties in Ireland, they have their different accents, they have their different foods, they have their different histories. So all of these things are really important, and it's very important to get out to the regions because it's sometimes hard for us as a country where the counties are important, but where regional government isn't as big a factor because we're smaller and we have a population of 5 million or so. The Spanish have closer to 50. And physically it's a bigger country, but they take their regions very, very seriously, and they would tend to tell you, although I suppose it's often the case in Ireland, you'll be told the county somebody's from before you'll be told anything else.
That's right.
And that tends to be the case. And as one of the more important regional visits I made this year was down to Malaga to meet with the mayor of Malaga to indicate to him or to report to him that the government in Dublin had taken a decision to open a consulate general in Malaga, which will provide a very important service for Irish tourists and visitors who are in that whole region, and hundreds of thousands of Irish travel to that region during every year, and anything can happen. Thankfully, nothing happens to most. They arrive and they leave without any adventure or unexpected excitement. But sometimes things do happen, ranging from the loss of a passport to something very, very serious where people get hospitalised. So in that sense, the Consulate General, which will open probably in 2026, will be a big addition to the overseas work of the Department of Foreign Affairs and the Irish government in Spain, and it's something that the Minister, the Taoiseach, was very keen to see happen. It's important for us to make clear to our fellow citizens that sometimes when people hear about a foreign ministry, they just think these people deal in very, very far away, distant things, and maybe complicated meetings in Brussels where negotiations go on, over many, many hours. But actually, the service to our citizen services is really a really important part of the work the department does, and that ranges from the passport you apply for in Dublin, it comes from Dublin to or Cork or North County Dublin now, Balbriggan. There are offices in all of those places issuing passports, but those that service. To the sort of service that you receive if you're in an emergency situation overseas. It's really, really important for us. It's the public face of the Department of Foreign Affairs, of the Foreign Ministry. We take it very seriously, and we have a very firm mandate, a very firm instruction or message from right on high from the Minister that this is to be a priority, which it is.
All right. Let's leave the mundane stuff behind for a second, because we like to chat to you about Christmas time and at Christmas time. So What's the embassy up to for Christmas? Have you had your Christmas party?
No, we'll have that next Friday.
Okay.
And then people, the following week, people will begin to, spread out for Christmas. We've quite a few staff, who most of our staff live permanently in Spain. Some are Spanish, some are Irish. Some of them will head back to Ireland. Others will head to different parts of Spain. I'll go back to Ireland, to Dublin, and one of our colleagues here will mind the shop, so to speak. And we've had a turnover this year. We've had 2 new colleagues arriving, which has been great for us. They've settled in really quickly and really well. So there's been quite a bit of change in-house in that respect. And so Christmas, I guess it's here. Of course, January the 6th is a very important occasion here in Spain. And also for Christmas, the 24th, late evening of the 24th is when they would tend to mark it, whereas we tend to mark it on the day of the 25th. But it's just as in Ireland, though, it's fairly long. It goes on for a while, and anybody listening who is coming to Madrid before the Christmas lights switch off will be in for a bit of a treat. They take the lighting of the city very seriously here. It's done with great style and great thought, and I think anybody who is coming here over the Christmas season will be struck by it.
Lovely. All right. Well, listen, I won't delay you much longer. I did say to you before we went on air that this is the final programme, the final live on Eire, unfortunately. And those that have been listening for many years, if they cast their mind back to the 30th of April 2018, when the programme first aired, our first guest was your predecessor, Ambassador Sheila Maguire. So I think it's fitting that the final guest on the programme is the current ambassador to Spain. But you told me that you're going to be going away in 2025. Your time is up. It's hard to believe.
Yes, this is my last show too with him.
I wouldn't say that, maybe.
Well, maybe. It'll be my last Christmas from Madrid, at least. Yeah, my posting, it's a 4-year posting. That's the normal posting for people from Foreign Affairs to come overseas. My 4-year posting will end in late summer next year. Time flies. I arrived in 2021 as the COVID pandemic was still working its way through. A lot has happened since. But so I will move back to Dublin, to our headquarters, in the latter part of 2025 as we prepare for the Irish presidency of the EU in the second half in July the 1st, 2026. So the wheel keeps turning, and my successor will move in here in the late summer, very early autumn.
Very good. I did commit to TRE. I said, look, I hate to have to finish the programme, but I'd like to continue to do maybe a couple of special series or something, and they have agreed to that. So this isn't the end for me. So we might catch up with you before you go. But just off the cuff, and I'm sorry to do this to you, is there any one thing that, looking back over, and you still have, 8 or 9 months to go, but looking back, is there any one thing that you say, yeah, that was the best thing for me, or my favourite thing, or something?
I think probably, I wouldn't say it's one event, but one thread which many Irish people will be familiar with, even if they haven't been to Spain, is the connection between Ireland and Spain, which is generated particularly by the Spanish students who go to Ireland. We have about 35,000 students a year coming from Spain to Ireland, and this has been going on now for close to 40 years or so. And one of the, if I could say, constituencies or groups that I deal with are the businesses that are involved in this, and the work they do to coordinate all of this each year, and the places they send them to. I had lunch last week with a woman who sends hundreds of students every year to Moat. That's where she goes with Spanish students from the east coast of Spain. But it's actually to address to get directly to your question, the links that are built up over year after year of these these students going to Ireland. I mentioned earlier the head of tourism in Valladolid, who went to Wicklow to learn English and speaks English with a Wicklow accent. You have thousands of these people in so many positions. Some of them are diplomats, some of them are in business, some of them are in politics. The head of the government here in Spain went to Dunleary to learn English when he was a teenager. The president of the Madrid region, who's a very well-known politician, she also spent time in Ireland. So it's politics, it's business, it's culture, it's diplomacy, it's public, civil servants. It's everywhere. Everywhere you go, you meet somebody who has spent at least a month in Ireland learning English, and generally, even though they went at a very young age, they have very clear and generally very happy memories of it, and it's priceless, quite frankly, that link, and it's a thread. As I say, it's not a single event. It very definitely isn't. It's thousands of events every year, each individual discrete case, but it's a thread that continues, every day through your life here.
All righty. Well, listen, can I say, firstly, I wish you and your loved ones and your friends a very happy Christmas, and everybody in the office, and a wonderful 2025. And thank you for the hospitality and the kindness and the courtesy over the years that I've been working with you. And hopefully it won't be the end of it. And as you said earlier, off air, we might bump into each other in Ennis or in Dublin at some point in the near future as well. And thank you for everything.
No, thank you very much, and thank you for your interest in Spain. And if I could squeeze in a small public service announcement right at the end, and maybe I should have done it earlier, for those who are travelling to Spain, make sure, one, apply for your passport in advance if you feel it's about to expire, but also we have these travel cards now, which you can also get from the passport office. And if anything goes wrong with your passport, if you lose your passport, keep it separate from your travel card, because your travel card will get you home.
That's right.
Without any fuss at all. So it's a constant message that we try to give people, because it really can. This travel card, which is relatively new for us, it's not brand new. It's been running for a number of years. We're still building up awareness of it, and it really can save you a lot of stress, because if you've had your passport stolen or lost, or you put it in the washing machine,
that's right.
This card will get you in and out of Spain.
Okay.
And particularly out. We'd always encourage you to bring your passport, of course.
Do you want to pick a piece of music before we go?
Well, I'll let you pick it.
Okay, that's a no then. All right. Listen, Irish Ambassador to Spain, Frank Smith, thank you so much indeed. Have a wonderful Christmas, and look forward to chatting to you again at some point in the future.
Likewise, thank you very much, sure.
The store where he
Isn't that beautiful? I only found that, was it a little earlier on today when I was looking for some bits and pieces, Noreen Nirean. And Noreen is a phenomenal singer and, of course, a part of a very musical family. And she is helped out there by the monks from Glenstall Abbey. Some beautiful Gregorian chant going on and all of that kind of thing. Aye, absolutely lovely. So you go, Noreen Nirean. Thank you to the Irish ambassador to Spain, Frank Smith, for taking the time about 2 weeks ago to have a chat with me. And indeed, I really enjoyed it, as I always have done, enjoy chatting with Ambassador Frank Smith and indeed his predecessor. As that I mentioned, Sheila Maguire a little bit earlier on. He mentioned there that if you were coming to Ireland, to be sure to bring your travel pass, you know, the little card he mentioned, as well as your thingamajiggy, your passport. And just some good news if you are coming to Ireland, having been out of action since 2020. The 42-acre Dublin Airport car park, one of the car parks that services Dublin airports, will be open from the 10th of March 2025, which is great news. The 6,100 plus space facility will be managed by APCOA, which is Europe's largest parking company, and it will operate under the Park to Travel branding. The newly reopened site is 1.5 kilometres from the airport terminal and will be connected by frequent shuttle buses at no extra charge. Neil Cunningham is the managing director of APCOA in Ireland, and he said that the reopened car park will increase the supply of parking to meet the growing demand at Dublin Airport and give customers a reliable and convenient parking experience. So there we go. We wish them all well in that.
nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Joy to the earth, the Saviour reigns. Let us our songs employ. While fields and floods, rocks, hills and plains, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy, repeat, repeat the sounding joy. Heroes the world with truth and with grace, and makes the nations grow. The glories of his righteousness, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love. Joy to the
It's only a very short piece, but it's lovely, isn't it? It's from the Irish tenors. There are 3 of them. Joy to the World is what it's called. The 3 tenors are Declan Kelly, Anthony Kearns and Ronan Tynan. Really nice one indeed. Mary Ellen Fitzpatrick, thank you very much for your lovely email, which I received just a short time ago, as you know, because I responded to you. And thanks very much indeed for that. Much appreciated. We won't feel it now, and it'll be Christmas. There's still a week away from it, and I suppose getting people into the Christmas spirit will kind of start from the weekend. I know that there's plenty of people planned to arrive back in Ireland from the UK and from across Europe and across America and various other places. So if you're travelling over the Christmas, I wish you well and sincerely hope that you have a very safe flight or sea travel, whichever. Now, as I mentioned a couple of times this evening, and I announced for the first time last week, today is the last edition of Live on Eire. Now, it wasn't an easy decision for me to make, but I did mention to you last week that my workload in other areas of my working life has increased to a point where it's just not possible to continue researching, producing and presenting a weekly programme, especially to the standard that I expect of myself on a weekly basis. And I do hold myself to account very much for each and every programme that has been aired, including this one, the final one. Since its inception in 2018, I have applied myself as diligently as I possibly could to each programme. And I must say that I have taken great pride in how each one sounded. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did. And it just wouldn't be fair to the programme. It wouldn't be fair to Talk Radio Europe management and my colleagues here. And more importantly, it wouldn't be fair to you if I was to put anything less than 100% into every programme. So the time has come to take a break. Before I do that, though, there are a couple of people that I would like to thank. And it's always dangerous when you start naming people and thanking people. But I've put a little bit of thought into this, so I hope there's nobody that I've missed. And I'm not going to do it in any order other than alphabetically, because that way nobody has more precedence than the other and nobody is more important than the other, because that is exactly the case. So starting alphabetically with the letter A, of course, it has to be Antonio Sierra, who has the grandiose title of being our Spanish-Irish cultural advisor on the programme. And since first meeting Antonio very early on in the life of Live on Eire, he has been working on a daily basis, and I mean a daily basis, for the development of the programme. His love for Ireland and Spain and for the common threads that bind our two nations together is something that has driven him for over 60 years, and his only aim is to highlight those common threads, to promote them, and to foster, where possible, a greater bond between our two great countries and their people. I've learned a lot from my friendship with Antonio, and through his collaboration with Live on Eire, I hope that you have learned a lot too. B is for Ben. Ben is one of my sons. I have 3 children. I'm blessed with 2 sons and a beautiful daughter. And despite being a young man who has been building his own career and making his way in life, he has always found time to be of assistance. He regularly contributed in person to the programme and was a regular contributor to ideas and features. And for any father to get to work with a son or daughter is always something very special. And it was when it came to contributions to Live on Eire from Ben. G is for George. G is also for G2. George Lee and I have been pals since our early teens in school, and our roads, our paths have had similar trajectories. Some have been quite different. Some have been very similar. And since, as I said, we're friends since we were teens, and that's a while now. His contributions to Live on Eire have been varied, but always clearly thought through. His insights on the many topics that we have discussed clearly demonstrate his life values, his wonderful, excellent life values, his education, his common sense approach, and his commitment to and pride in his community. Along with these, his sense of humour made each of his contributions worth listening to, and I have no doubt contributed in a large part to the success of Live on Eire over the years. G is also for guests, and as I mentioned last week in the programme, in the region of 450 guests have appeared on Live on Eire since April 2018. I counted them. I did. And I did genuinely. And I would like to thank each and every one of them for their willingness to contribute to the programme, their generosity with their time. Some were extremely generous. And for their support of what I was trying to achieve on Live on Eire. P is for Patricia. Patricia Traynor has been another fabulous resource for Live on Eire, and one that, again, I have no doubt contributed significantly to the success of the programme. Over the nearly 6 years that she has been part of the programme, Patricia has researched, written and recorded in excess of 130 stories on a vast array of subjects, all relating to Ireland and the Irish. Her commitment to the programme has been phenomenal, and I'm thrilled to say that my association with Patricia has not just taught me a lot about Irish culture and folklore, but has resulted in a lovely friendship between both our families, something I will be eternally grateful for. P is also for PJ. PJ Curtis, another gem. PJ is one of life's great people. He is. And if one Googles PJ Curtis, it becomes immediately clear that to have the support of a man as talented and knowledgeable as PJ Curtis as part of any team is a great catch. PJ has introduced me to musicians, singers, writers, and so many others that I could never have dreamed of being in contact with. And without PJ's input, the programme would not have secured conversations and performances from many of the biggest names in Irish music and culture. PJ's thoughts and ideas, along with his contacts, was yet another massive part of the foundations upon which Live on Eire was built, and a resource that was invaluable to its success. I'm glad to say that PJ and I are good friends and have been for many years, and I will always value that. R is for Roger. One of the original friends of Live on Eire is Roger Comiskey. He and I got to know each other as two Irish people spending time in Spain, and it soon became apparent that Roger was a Joycean. And each year on Bloomsday, he would come up with something new for the programme to celebrate James Joyce's Ulysses. He also introduced me to as many people as he could to try and generate content for Live on Eire. Now, before I move away from each of those wonderful people and thank them again for their contribution, collaboration and friendship, can I make something very clear? None of these people, Antonio, Ben, George, our guests, Patricia, PJ and Roger, none of them got a single brass cent or penny for their contributions. Their involvement was completely voluntary and unpaid. And when people in the radio business who know the industry talk to me about the content of the programme over the years, they're absolutely astounded by the quality of contributors that I have been fortunate enough to have attracted, all gratis. I would like to say to them that I am so very appreciative of your efforts and cannot ever thank you enough for believing in me and the programme to the extent that you have. I have been so fortunate to have had you along for the journey. Thank you. T is for TRE, or Talk Radio Europe, and when I initially made contact with the radio station, I had absolutely no idea who the individuals were who ran the station. I just knew the on-air stuff, and I thought that I would like to be part of it. I was hugely fortunate to make contact with this organisation and be met with some of the nicest and most welcoming people that I could have hoped to meet. That's very rare in the radio business, trust me. Over the years, I have made some great friends. I'm not naming names here, as I will surely leave people out, so I will just say to all of my colleagues at Talk Radio Europe, a heartfelt thank you for adopting this stray and for allowing me to run amok on the airwaves, because that's what I did sometimes. Being part of a radio station that is fun and trusting these days is very rare. Formatting and strict editorial control is very much part of the business. And here at Talk Radio Europe, the presenters are given their heads. We're treated like professionals, and we're allowed to be free and open in what we do. This is done with guidance from time to time and in appreciation of the talented presenters that are working here. Management, administration, sales, technical, IT and production staff are also of the highest quality here at Talk Radio Europe, and I thank them, and some who have left the organisation, for all that I have achieved while here, all that I have learned, and for all the friends that I have made. And finally, Y is for you. And without you, I could have the finest team in the world, which I had. I could work in the best radio station in the world, which I have been. And I could invest huge time into making each programme sound as good as it could, which I did. But without you there to listen, it would not have been worth it. Some listeners tuned in religiously every week or caught up with it on our Listen Back facility. Some listeners tuned in occasionally. I didn't appreciate that now, in fairness. And some listeners caught up with me when I was presenting other programmes. To all of you, I say a huge thank you. And I hope that you continue listening to Talk Radio Europe and supporting a great bunch of people who do their utmost daily to produce quality programming that is fun and educational. I did mention last week that while this is the end of the line for Live on Eire, I am hopeful that I will be back on air at some point in 2025 with something completely different. I haven't the slightest clue as yet what that might be, but I will be working on a series in the coming months that I hope we can share. Until then, can I wish you and yours a very happy Christmas and a wonderful 2025. And again, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Ger Sweeney presents Live on Eire in association with emeraldconnection.net.
You've been listening to a TRE production. If you've enjoyed this programme, there'll be another episode waiting for you next week, right here on this platform, where you can also access our extensive back catalogue of shows and interviews. For more information on our live programming, social media channels and apps, and how to contact Talk Radio Europe, please visit TRE.radio.